Welcome, I'm Mercurial Mercenaries, for what is probably going to be a lengthy video, likely only of interest to subscribers, but you never know who'll stumble upon this. This is a video to address some of the comments I get, along the lines of, please listen to this, please listen to that. Some of you don't understand that there's a little bit of history here, in that we are now about to embark on album 120. It's a bit of a weird milestone. I had a milestone at 50, and I had one at 100 that I didn't mention. 120? Oh, it's our 120th wedding anniversary. It's a bit of a weird one, but I bet you can't guess what album 120 is going to be. But what it means is there have been 119 albums that have preceded what we're about to do. And some of you say, what about this? What about that? And I've already done them. So this is going to be a little example trawl through of some of the albums I've done over the past few years on this discovery of new music for me. And when people say, why haven't you listened to this? Why haven't you listened to that? There are albums that I have listened to that maybe you haven't. So it all started a few years ago with the first episode of Discover. Episode 1. I called it episode 1. If I didn't even call it episode 1 at the time, because it wasn't going to be a series. It was just that I embarked on something, and I thought, I bought a record player, and I bought it primarily to listen to AC/DC albums, and mainly, in all honesty, a whole record player just to listen to Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. And of interest here as well, you know, like a stopped clock is right twice a day. Well, if you leave a reindeer out for the whole year, eventually the reindeer will make sense. All right? But I bought a record player to listen to Exile on Main Street. Bit odd. And then I thought, I might as well just buy some records to play on it. And at the time, I was putting bits and pieces of more and more music on my YouTube channel. And each time I put some music on, it would receive a copyright notice. And the record company would put adverts on the video and claim the money. And the money thing never bothered me, but it was more a case that adverts were being put on my video without my say-so. And I thought, around the time of this album, I thought, if record companies are going to put adverts on my videos for me playing a song or section of music, why don't I just play the whole album? They're going to put adverts on anyway. And that is what became the first listen through of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, an Australian psychedelic band. This is probably their magnum opus, Non Again Infinity, an album that loops round and round. And those of you that remember watching what became episode 1 of Discover will remember that, yeah, when I got to the end of this record, I realised that the end sounded very much like the beginning. And I flipped it over, and then, yeah, the end did sound like the beginning. And in digital form, this can loop forever. But Non Again Infinity became episode 1. And then the record company put adverts on it. And I thought, that's fine. So I thought I'd hit upon a formula where I could just record, play an album, talk over it. And look, back then, I'd never heard of reaction channels. And I didn't consider that, well, I wasn't reacting. I was literally, hate the word, but I was literally grabbing an album, putting the record on the record player, letting it play, and then I was just telling stories to camera about my life, about things, about happenstance, things I'd done that day. It was a case of trying to have a friend in the room if your life didn't have a friend in the room. And it was more of a social experiment, really. It certainly wasn't reacting to the music. It was the music happened to be playing, and it was certainly all about me, and it was all about you. And I've got to admit, as new people have come on board, especially in the last few months, that's kind of got lost a little bit. But it started with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards, Non Again Infinity, episode 1. We moved on. I'm in Your Mind Fuzz, Fly Microtonal Banana. We did one of my own albums, The Only Way Out Is Through, Paper Mache Dream Balloon, Earthless, From the Ages, which was a bit of a pain because that's the album that I forgot to include as part of the Discover. And that's the album that skewed everything to the point where when we got to episode 50, it was actually episode 51. And we've actually already done episode 120, and the next one's going to be 121. But we won't mention that. We won't mention that, Earthless. We'll forget Earthless existed for the minute. And then we did Murder of the Universe. Now, Murder of the Universe is the first album I bought in my kind of vinyl renaissance. But I didn't do a playthrough of it. So when I realised going through the other King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard albums, Knowledge and Infinity, I'm in Your Mind Fuzz, I revisited this one. This was episode 6, Earthless, episode 6, 7, and again, put the album on, just talk over it, have a laugh, have a beer. We've had beer, we've had whiskey, we've had Jack Daniels, we've had wine, we've had sparkling water, more recently, more coffee, but it was an excuse. And each time it would be the full length of the album. No problem at all. And it was the kind of stuff that in the early days of YouTube, in the early days of my YouTube, starting around 2015, I wanted long form content. I wanted to be able to put a video on, and have that video last a while. So I could either watch it or do other things while it was playing. And what became the trend, probably all along, especially with the likes of TikTok these days, is short videos, short, sharp. I never really liked that, because by the time I've played the video and started to do whatever I'm doing, it's finished. So I liked the idea of a forced 40-minute session, not sexually, with me and music. So the record companies would still keep putting adverts on, but for the minute it was all right. I put the album on, I'd record this, and I'd put it out into the world. Didn't take too much effort. The effort back in the day was really during the recording process, during this bit, having enough to say. Because what I would try to do is, I knew I was going to get a copyright copyright notice, and adverts put on, and the money from the videos would go to the record company, and I would get nothing, which we'll come back to. But I would want to try and be transformative in nature, to at least give fair use, fair game. So I would try my best to talk over every single second of the music, because one of the things is, you've got to try to make it so that the people out there can't use your video in place of the album. So if I put Mercurial number 6 listens to Murder of the Universe out into the world, my version of it would have me talking throughout. So King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard's record company, Flightless or whatever, or UMG it turns out, could at least think, well, it's not a direct replacement. People still do need to go and stream this or buy this or listen to this. So that was Murder of the Universe. And at this point, like I say, it was relatively simple. Put an album on, have a chat. We got All Them Witches, went quite rocky at this point, mainly rock and roll. Then we hit upon another of the bands. So one of the main bands I've ever done is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Like I say, Australian, kind of started off psychedelic rock, heavy metal, folk, pretty much everything. Quite an eclectic band, to be fair. I've done all the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums. The new album hasn't turned up here yet, and they'll probably release another album before the new album turns up at my door. Another band that I stumbled upon. This was a band that I'd heard of in my youth, but didn't spend a lot of time with. In fact, zero time back in the day. This is Morbid Angel. So we went on a little bit of a Morbid Angel trip as well. So that was King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Morbid Angel. Here's an album that was just really, really interesting. And what you'll find is some of the more, what I would call interesting albums that I've done over the years have had the fewest views. So basically, no one watched this. We went to the world of Jean-Michel Jarre with Equinox, with a mighty, mighty fine. Can you see that? What an album cover. What an album cover. Outrageous Now. This is the one that has the orange vinyl, if I remember rightly. Because over our journey, we have had lots and lots of black, iconic black vinyl. But there was an orange one. We then did an album specifically, it was only ever requested by one person, but because that person had listened to and watched Every single video I'd ever done to that point, we touched upon Steel Panther with All You Can Eat. Then, for my own kind of sanity, I did one of my favourite albums of all time, Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Anyone who's interested in the sort of music that I think is good, go and listen to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Kind of prog, like late 80s prog metal with one of the finest singers of all time, the air raid siren himself. Then, at some point along the way, through our Discover journey, we hit upon Tame Impala, who in the very first seconds of my listen through of Lonerism, when I said, I'm not sure, this is another like Australian psychedelic band, and I said, oh, you know, Tame Impala. How would you pronounce that? I would pronounce it Tame Impala. Tame Impala. And then I called, through the rest of our journey, those long-term viewers, we have enjoyed all of Tame Impala's albums, all of Kevin Parker's albums. And to be fair to Mr. Parker, they have all been great. But this is an album that I kind of put on the front screen of my channel for a while. So this one racked up quite a few views. And it's got what I think fans of this channel, and I in particular, still feel is perhaps the greatest moment in Discover history. A song that, even though my goal is to talk over every single second of every single song, this album had Yes, I'm Changing. The only song to ever shut me up. And still, one of my favourite moments of Discover, and still one of my favourite songs of all time. We've touched upon Idols. Lots of you keep asking for Idols. Not this album in particular, but I don't think you realise that we've been there and done this. At this point, we're still putting an album on, pressing record, and just talking to camera. Like I say, I'm skipping albums along the way, but this is the general gist. I met for the only time, I met a Mercurial mercenary in person, in a record shop, and I said to him, to his face, which album would you like me to do next? And he pointed this one out. So MGMT's Little Dark Age was a direct request to my face. Bought it there and then in front of him. And it has perhaps the greatest song, one of the greatest songs of all the albums that we've done on it, She Works Out Too Much. Fantastic. And because of that, Tame Impala, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Tame Impala, and now MGMT became bands that I did every album of. Every album. Then we had a moment where I had a conversation with someone today on there about, I mentioned sort of real music, and I think someone took offence because, you know, the suggestion that sort of clicking with a mouse and making electronic music isn't real music. I think, you know, it's just terminology. I just like the idea of a band, a group of people in a room. This album is probably the greatest ever example of a band in a room just pressing record and playing. And, you know, in a few takes, just a few takes, with a band who didn't really know what they were about to play. This is probably in my top 10 albums of all time. And that was a good one. It sort of, around this time, I was trying to up the editing a little bit, putting a few effects here and there, trying to make the visuals as interesting as the music. So we did. We had everybody asked to do Dark Side of the Moon, and like, you know, at this point, I was still putting records on and just talking over them. And I'm not sure, and viewers of this channel will remember or not, I'm not sure we ever mentioned the word reaction. It was my first listen to, or Mercurial number 6 listens to, or I can't remember exactly the wording of those early discovers. But yeah, I mean, I suppose at some point along this journey, I must have clicked on another reaction video by somebody else, and I'll be honest with you, around the time of those early King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums, I thought I was doing something novel, something new. I was putting a record on, and we were having like a communal experience over music. And then it got pointed out to me that, you know, loads of people are doing this. It's just Reaction Channel. And I thought, oh, bugger. Actually, when I looked into it, I'm not sure anyone really was doing the same as me at the time. People would be putting some music on, always streaming it. They never buy the bloody thing. They put some music on and stream it. They'd have their headphones and they kind of nod, and then they'd stop the music and they'd talk about it, and they'd explain what the lyrics meant as if they were some guru and you knew jack shit, and they'd explain the lyrics to you. And, you know, over the years, that's more recently, since I've done some more of the hip hop stuff, the lyrics, the theme of the lyrics being that important and me not mentioning them didn't really occur in the early days of the channel. People were happy I put Dark Side of the Moon on and just talked about building a snowman or whatever I'd been doing that day, you know, or having a drink or whatever. But more recently, I think when I do click on other people's reaction channels, I see why people might expect different from me. That thing of, you know, listening to some of the music and yes, stopping and yeah, oh, I like that bar. I like that bar. And then bar's a different thing to me. But we had Medora Takada. This one went on the wall up there for a while. This is a Japanese woman who kind of made this in a couple of days using like Coke cans and rubber bands and stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. You know, why haven't you heard Midori Takada? In Through the Looking Glass. Can't believe you haven't heard that. Call yourself a reaction fan channel watcher. Then we had Mr. Not Brian. Doesn't like that. Mr. Ryan, this was the album that I got extremely drunk during and actually had to edit part of the latter half out. This was the album that reminded me that you should not ever drink, or never kick the camera, but never drink while you're recording a YouTube video. Quite liked that album, surprisingly. Then we had the first this happened twice, what I'm about to say. To take someone to a record shop and say to them, pick me any album you want and I'll review it or listen to it or whatever I'd said. React. And the person looked at this one and went, I'll have that one. So I took Mercurial's Misplaced Childhood without a lot of expectations, put it on the record player, and it ended up being absolutely fantastic and one of my favourite ever episodes of Discover. Along the way, we hit upon another band that became a favourite of mine, Pond. This one in particular, what an album. In fact, I think I've liked everything Pond has done. Kind of more connections to Tim Impala, more connections to kind of Australian music scene. And here was the second, because the first one with Misplaced Childhood was such a roaring success. I took same said person to same record shop and said, pick me another album based solely on the album cover. And they picked this one by a band I'd never heard of, the Go Team. In fact, quite a lot of these bands I'd never heard of. I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I'd never heard of Tame Impala. I'd vaguely heard of MGMT. I'd never heard of the Go Team. This one, I liked it. People quite often say, Mercurial number 6 in the comment section, do you think, or to each other in the comment section, do you think he's ever going to come across an album that he doesn't like? And it's really not, it's about being honest, and it's about accepting and appreciating the effort that goes into making music. And I've said this before at the end of a few videos, but people put effort in when they're making music, and there's always something there There's always something there. It's just a matter of, pardon me, it's just a matter of belching. It's a matter of capturing it. You can go in hypercritical. I think you get the views if you slag music off, but I'm not here to slag. I'm not here to slag music off. I'm here to try and see. I don't want to say like see the good in everything, because that makes me sound like a do-gooder. But I'm certainly here to kind of drain the essence, Dr. Strangelove style. So then we got to episode 51. Episode 50! The big episode 50. Where I decided we would revisit Tim Impala for our first live album. And yeah, this one, I've really enjoyed this one. And to reach episode 50 seemed like a milestone. It really did. It seemed like a milestone. And certainly the idea of, once I got to episode 50, the idea that I'd ever get to episode 100, at that point seemed impossible. But I carried on. Because you kind of take every day as it comes, and you just buy another album for 20, 30, sometimes 40 quid, and put it on, record. Now, it was around this time, and I can't remember, hopefully I've got the list on the screen, but it was around this time that the idea of just putting the album on and talking and having fun, and the record company would put their adverts on it, something changed. It was probably something around that time, due to the YouTube algorithm. Record companies get a choice. When you put copyrighted material onto the internet and it gets detected by the YouTube algorithm, you can choose to monetize it and put adverts all over that person's video and take the money, or you can choose to block it. And there was a point in time, and it was kind of Gorillaz Plastic Beach type time, where I noticed that these videos were just being worldwide blocked. And it kind of made me, it changed the game a little bit. It made it much more difficult. And I started having to consider editing sections of the music out to at least get past the worldwide block, although it takes so much effort to get past the worldwide block, only then to just hit the copyright situation again, the copyright notice. So you make effort to get past it being blocked to have adverts put back on it again. You with me? But we did The Voids. That was a great album. Big Strokes fan in the early noughties. We did Halloween. I thought I'd do a film soundtrack. No one watched it. What I found over the years doing this is that you want to think that people are watching your channel for you. You want to feel that you've got something about you that's drawing people in. And I would say that there is something to that, because I have seen people on YouTube with zero charisma. And I'm not saying that people aren't out there wanting that, because certainly a lot of people are typing comments to me, oh, this guy must be on drugs, this guy must have ADHD. I'm never on drugs. I haven't got ADHD. I'm just trying to be exuberant and enthusiastic, because I don't want to see deadpan. Hello. We're going to listen to an album today. The album we're going to listen today is Foxtrot by Genesis. I want more. I want more. So there is something to be said by building up the talent, the skill to talk to camera and to talk to people and to have the confidence. There's something to be said for that, and I think you can draw people in. But on the whole, people only watch your videos, if you're doing music type stuff, if they want to listen to the music. or if they're interested in the music. So you think you've got people on board for a journey, and people will watch Nonigan Infinity with you, and they'll want to join you to listen to I'm in Your Mind Fuzz and Sketches of Brunswick East, Polygon Dwannaland, and then they won't join you for Foxtrot. And you think, oh, but we've got a relationship. We've got a sorry about the squeaky chair. I need to WD-40 it. We've got a relationship. You think we've got a series? It's called Discover. We're on episode 62, 61, 62 episodes. It's like a weekly show or a 2-weekly show, a monthly show, whatever. Come on. My fan base will be here. My fan base will, they'll follow me. They'll want to listen to Foxtrot. No. The only people that want to listen to Foxtrot with me are the people who have already heard Foxtrot. So then you understand that people are only here for the albums that they already know and love. There is no loyalty. There's nothing. I don't mean to sound down. There is a handful of people. There are a handful of people. There's probably 200 people that will watch everything that I do, music related. People have limited time. I have limited time. I don't know. Red Letter Media. I will watch every video they put out. Pretty much. Give or take. So there are people like that with me. But what I've definitely learned, especially during the latter part of the kind of hip-hop journey that I've been on, no, people want to hear what they already know. And like I've said a few times, it's a shame because I'm here purposely trying to listen to things that I don't know. And I'm really enjoying listening to music that I don't know. But then again, I don't watch reaction channels. So I can't level it at me. I can't say that I go out there to watch people watching music that I don't know. So, I mean, I don't like reaction channels much. I know Mortal Orchestra is another band. We've pretty much done everything that he's done. This one here is one of the only albums that I didn't much like on the first listen. But if you don't much like something on the first listen, there's a chance that it will grow on you. So always remember that. We carried on with the Mac DeMarco Experience. I've kind of selected this one to show on camera today just because this one I think is his most underrated record. Maybe even more so than Here Comes the Cowboy, which is a kind of the one that the fans, me included, feel is his worst. But this one probably doesn't get a lot of love. Again, you know, I would have thought Dr. Octagon for me, going back to kind of, you know, his CD that I bought in the... I bought this CD in when it was released in 1996. This is... well, it's just called Dr. Octagon. I think later versions of it were called Dr. Octagonecologist. But this is just when it was just Dr. Octagon. And when I heard that a true second album second album was coming out, I had to get it and listen to it as part of the Discover series. However, what I found was no one's interested. No one's interested in Dr. Octagon. Midnight Snack, another suggestion from you guys. This one was incredible. A real surprise. Loved it. Fishing for Fishies, I've chosen to kind of focus on this one a little bit out of all the King Gizzard I could, because I thought this was one of their greatest albums. But I'm not sure the fans really took to it too much. I've chosen to pick out from the 100 and whatever. I mean, there's loads. I can't even see here. There's loads. No, you can't see because I haven't got the camera facing. They've got hundreds more still down there in the boxes. I chose to put Here Comes the Cowboy here by Mac DeMarco, because this was the moment where it did all change. This album was immediately worldwide blocked. This video was immediately worldwide blocked. And this was the moment where I talked about having to put more effort into the edit to get it past the worldwide block. From this moment onwards, and this was around episode 76, 75, 76. Things changed. And I'd been getting fancier and fancier over the course of 70 odd videos. The audio, I upped the game, condenser mics and all the kind of, I threw into making Discovers, I threw into it all of my previous audio production skills, just into making the music sound good, the voice sound good. And it's got to the point now, honestly, where the music on my videos probably does sound better than the music you're hearing on Spotify. Because when they do it digitally, they brick wall limit it. They make it as loud as they can make it. Take some of the dynamics out. The dynamics is the difference between quiet and loud. And they take a lot of that out. They make it all try and make the same level, compress it. And it's good if you're in the car, to be honest. That's how you want it. Because when it goes really quiet, you can't hear it. So you really want it to all be at the same level. That's why I've talked in the past about how sometimes the loudness wars and the compression wars have been a good thing in certain respects, in certain listening environments. And if you listen to an album in a car, you want it to be consistently the same level. But what you find is, when you're listening to it on headphones, on your computer or something on YouTube, the way I do it, I take the record. Now ideally, a piece of vinyl would be recorded in analog originally, mixed in analog, put onto the record, and the whole experience was always done in the analog way. What happens now with the majority of these hip-hop records, they're all going to be ones and zeros. It's all going to be digital. And at the last minute, that digital is going to be slammed onto a record. But even so, there's a way of mastering vinyl, which means you can't have too much bass on it. You can't have it too loud, else the needle will jump out of the grooves. So when you do get records that have the song spread across 2 discs, nice wide grooves, nice heavy vinyl, they've got a real dynamic sound to them because they've been mastered for vinyl. So I take that sound and I play around a bit, do my own little bit of mastering. And that's why some of you have commented over the years, how come the version of the music on your video number 6, Mercurial number 6, sounds better than the version that's being, broadcast on Spotify. That's the reason. And that's probably a reason why, the record company's thinking, Christ, he's doing better than us. Block him. But so I want to reiterate that, yes, I'm using the artist's music, but yes, adverts, sorry, it's the chair squeaking. Yeah, but adverts are getting put across it, and the artist or the production company or whatever, they aren't getting the money. I get nothing, they get the money. And I mean, I'm always putting it in a negative way, but it can be in a positive way. If you're the artist, you want to make some money from my videos. So I'm not always meaning it negatively. I just mean it's negative in terms of the amount of time it takes me to do it. Because at the moment, have you seen that? I've got little tabby cat feet. Because at the moment, it takes me about a solid week, to do one of my reaction videos. And it's a shame because I'm pretty sure that there are other reactors out there who still get away with just streaming the music, recording themselves and just putting it out there. I do lots more. I'm not trying to be big-headed about it. I don't want to downplay anyone who puts stuff onto YouTube. Everything is time consuming. Everything takes multiple times longer than you think it does. But I'm doing stuff with the music. I'm mixing in my own voice. There's a lot going on with the audio and the visuals. There's a lot going on with. And these days, to get through the worldwide block, because quite often people are asking, how is it you get away with playing so much of the music? Well, I don't get away with anything, but it's judicious use of cuts. And yeah, I've got musical savvy, all right? I tend to try and cut it in a place where you won't notice. That takes time. I haven't noticed anyone else doing that in the world. But then again, I don't watch reaction videos. Mutilated Defeated at Last. This is the one out of the 120 albums, 119 albums. Shh. Earthless. This is the one. Every single album is 33 1/3 revolutions per minute, apart from this one. This is the album that made a mockery of me, because this album is 45 RPM. So I listened to it in slow motion, and I thought they were like a sort of Cure, Joy Division type band, and I really enjoyed it. And then I made a fool of myself, because then I realised, oh, they're not really a Cure, Joy Division type band. They're a really fast, hectic King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard type band. But, oh, sorry, why is it creaking like that? Why have I always got creaky chairs? I have lighting and video and stuff, and the chair lets me down. It does, okay, look. See, you can see that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it does say 45 RPM on there. So from this point onwards, from this record onwards, I realised I would always have to check. So all of you newer listeners over the last year or so, if you notice me go on every single time about whether it's 33 RPM or not, it's because of Mutilated Defeated at Last by the OCs. And it was a damn good album as well, but it just, maybe the low point of my Discover series. Ed the Dog, shame. This was an album sent to me by a viewer of the channel. He is Ed the Dog, and he sent me this album. And it was great, and it was really good. It still got worldwide blocked, but it was really good. No one watched it. So what I learned, and this is like a kind of conversation to those who are still asking. Will you do reviewer requests? If I send you a link, will you do a listen through of my band? And, you know, the answer's, unfortunately, I've tried it a few times with some really good bands. But the answer is, no one gives a flying shit. Imagine you're flying through the air, karmic, yoga, whatever it's called style. Legs crossed, flying through the air, trousers down, just shit flowing out of you. No one gives a flying shit. Stonefield Bent, all-girl band, red vinyl, Flightless, Australian. Great album, actually, very Black Sabbath. Then we have another entry into the Discover series. This was about number 15. This was the 15th album that I did by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. This is Infest the Rat's Nest. This is their thrash metal album. Kind of Motorhead, Alice Cooper, Metallica kind of style thing. Absolutely beautifully crazy album. Love it. Love it. Then, knowing that no one watches videos that I do by bands that they've never heard of or don't like, I did purposefully Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops do the Beatles, and it's a brilliant album. No one watched this video at all. No one. Did Are You Experienced by the late great Jimi Hendrix, sent to me by a viewer of the channel who no longer watches the videos, but because you only watch videos that you're interested in, and I can assure you that the person who sent me this album is not interested in Kanye West or Travis Scott. But this was always going to be worldwide blocked, but fantastic. I then did a little journey of my own with what I consider to be one of the greatest albums of all time. This is the album that I keep mentioning, actually. Every time someone talks about lyrics, you should be pulling up the lyrics on Genius. You should be having the lyrics on screen while you listen, you idiot. You idiot. I'm like, no. Right? Don't even see that there. Is it going to focus? If you can read that, that is the truth. You think the truth's out there of like the likes of Alex Jones. It's not. Or Flat Earth. No. The truth is Jarvis Cocker. Then we had The Slow Rush. This was an album that I think is probably one of Kevin Parker's finest moments. The fans didn't seem to like it. I thought it was just a beautiful sounding collection of pop songs. I loved it. King Cruel's album, The Used, Man Alive, I'd already done The Used. So when you guys keep asking for The Used or Man Alive, I've done them both, right? We then went on to what I consider to be one of my... This was the first album I ever owned. This is the original pressing of Fragile from 1972, is it? Well, no, sorry, 71. Hang on. 1971. Go and watch this episode of Discover. I explain all about how I came to have this album and how it's followed me around everywhere I've ever lived. And it's part of me. I think this, you know, like what you would save in a fire. I think I'd save this. I'd save the Les Paul. I'd save my cat, the Les Paul, and this album. Then we embarked upon Igor by Tyler, the Creator. This was the start of the hip-hop journey. Now, I've lost most of my King Gizzard, Tim Impala, MGMT fans since I've started the hip-hop journey because I think people think I jumped boat or jumped ship or whatever the phrase is. But that's not true. I devoured pop music. I devoured Britpop, indie music, heavy metal, rock, XLR Main Street, AC/DC. Then through YouTube, I did Australian psychedelic music. I've done, as you can see, through this, I think it's quite eclectic. You know, Japanese instrumental. We've got Jean-Michel Jarre. We've got Britpop. We've got death metal, prog rock. I mean, jazz. Then I thought, there's a whole area of music that I've just never really been. Look, in the 90s, I was a fan of the Beastie Boys. I liked the Chili. I want to do a Discover on Blood Sugar Sex Magic, but I don't think anyone will watch it. I've got loads of records down there that I want to do, but I was a fan of the Beastie Boys. Look, I bought. You know, I had Dr. Octagon. It's not like I'm not totally naive to it. I was dancing around to Cypress Hill and that in nightclubs, but really, hip hop and rap were just something that I haven't avoided. I just, you know, everyone has a path. How come you haven't listened to this? How come you haven't listened to that? I was listening to other things. I was listening to Wolfsbane or the Wild Hearts. Like, you know, there'll be things that I think they're important to me that I can't believe you haven't listened to. But it started with this one. Fantastic album. Bit of a surprise. Kind of expecting, I don't know, but I was expecting rap because people told me it was rap. Bloody chair. It's never Breaking Wind, Breaking Bad. It's always the chair squeaking, right? We moved on to Kendrick Lamar's magnum opus. This was the point where I was having to, you know, guaranteed worldwide block. So I was kind of cutting the music up and to get past it and making the effort to talk over every single second of it. And people would... Then a whole new set of fans came on board who were seemed to me, suddenly obsessed with the lyrics. And they kept telling me that when I said, well, you know, music's all-encompassing. It's a sound. Words are sound. The music and the words, they mesh together and they hit your ears. And it either sounds good to you or it doesn't sound good to you. Yes, there'll be lyrical content there. But either sounds good to you or it doesn't sound good to you. And people would say, no, you've got it all wrong. Because I was trying to, look, people aren't interested in anything unless you can kind of entice them. And what's the point of spending ages on a video to have no one watch it? So yeah, I wanted to entice people. So I put like, I thought, oh, I can try putting rock fan, because I am. I don't know anymore. Listens to this. And then people would go, type on it, you don't understand, man. Lyrics are more important with hip hop. You've got to listen to the lyrics. It's all about the lyrics. And I think that's so... Do you know what? If you're going to write some lyrics, they're always important. Bob Dylan's lyrics were important. The Stones, the Beatles were important. Pulp, the Smiths. Like, lyrics can be superficial, but don't ever say they're not important. Rock lyrics are just as important, right? I understand that, especially with an album like this, there'll be like kind of political and social lyrics, and there'll be themes that are certainly, the lyrics are like pinpointed towards certain themes that are very, very important. But it's still part of an overall thing. And what you've got is you've got people out there just playing a few seconds of it and then telling you, oh yeah, I like the way you said this, and say, yeah, it's all good. It's all out there for you. It's all out there for you. I don't think I did myself any favours with this one particularly, because this one became one of the most watched videos I ever did. And my method at the time of this video, which was just cutting the bits where I was talking and putting them all together, made the music jump a bit. And it's a bit of a shame, because actually the way I make videos today is a cut above. I'm really onto something now. It just takes a week to do it every single time. Then we did Slow Ties. Nothing great about Britain. And like I said on the original video, there are great things about Britain, but I'm not Slow Tie. He comes from a different place than me. And as far as I'm aware, this is still the only artist to actually comment on my video. This is the only time that I know someone's watched my video. Apart from Kenny Beats, who I know's watched me talk about his album. There's Kenny Beats and Slow Tie. I know they've watched, which is nice. You know, I mean, okay, you know, Slow Tie was nice. Slow Tie was nice. Kenny Beats took the piss out of me a little bit, but you know, whatever. I would do the same thing. Then we got to episode 100, and for the big 100th episode, against the people that kept saying, "Oh, he's only doing hip hop now," I did this. I did Black. This isn't hip hop. This was the big 100th episode. No one watched it, but I think my editing skills, they were certainly getting somewhere on this album. My ability to make it seem the flow with no gaps, make it appear that I was playing the whole album. By the time I got to this one, I knew what I was doing properly. So this was the kind of the start really of absolutely nailing the audio and the visuals to the point where I felt I was doing it better than anyone. However, because I wasn't watching anyone else, they might still all be better than me. So what do I know? Kids See Ghosts. Fantastic album. Yeah, that's one of out of all the albums I've done, that's one of the best ones. And it was interesting because I'd heard of Kanye West, obviously, in a kind of reality way, through his relationships. I'd seen bits and pieces of him at Glastonbury in that big lit up box and trying to sing Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'd known of Kanye West. And people say, well, how can you not have heard this and heard that? I don't really listen to music radio because it pisses me off. I will be the person that just listens to a Rolling Stones album with a beer. When I do listen to the radio, I listen to talk radio. When I do listen to music in the car, I'll put my own music on. I'm just not out. I'm not. Although I'm on a kind of journey of discovery, I'm on a very purposeful journey of discovery. And like I've said a few times, I am purposefully avoiding any new music so that I can do reactions and be genuine about how I've never heard something before. Yeah. And I think there's a listening skill that you kind of evolve over 100 albums. You evolve. People, especially during some of the Genesis albums, people would say, they'd accuse me in the comment section, they'd say, like, I would be singing along with it with Peter Gabriel or whatever, and I'd guess what the melody was going to be before he did it. And they'd say to me in comments, they'd say, you're a liar. There's no way you haven't heard this before. No one could have guessed that break or that lyric or that hand clap or whatever. And me, no, I never lie. And I've got no reason to lie. Life's too short. And I'd know that I had guessed it. And some people just can't be convinced. So these people, I usually block them because this isn't a place of free speech. This is my channel. It's not going to sort of devolve into a load of people calling me a liar. But I never lie. You ask me a question, I'll either choose not to answer it or I'll answer you honestly. But if you've been on the journey with me, I hope that you too have realised that there's an actual skill in listening. Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition. One of the best albums I've listened to. And still to this day, and I'm sure it will change, but to this day, I don't believe there's any advert. Oh, I won't say it out loud just in case the record company's watching and they just missed it rather than being nice. Danny Brown, you're great. You guys wanted me to listen to Jay Dilla's Donuts. So I'd never heard of Jay Dilla. And then you get people going, I can't believe, I don't believe he's never heard of Jay Dilla. Yes, I'd never heard of Jay Dilla. If you listen to Iron Maiden and AC/DC and the Rolling Stones and Oasis and Pulp and Blur, Super Furry Animals and Block Party and Metallica and Megadeth, you don't no reason to have heard of Jay Dilla. So I listened to this album without knowing how actually tragic this album is. Recorded in a hospital, basically on his deathbed. So there's me larking around over it, having fun, and there's people in the comment section saying, I can't believe that, man. Can't believe he did that. And I defend myself in the comments, really, which is music should mean whatever it means to you when you hear it. And yes, there is something to be gained by knowing the backstory and the history, but I did. Then I learned the history. And you know what? After I did this album, I listened to it again and again and again. I must have listened to this album 50 times. This is now one of my favourite albums ever. But I'm not going to change that first reaction. It was pure joy. Yeah, I enjoyed music made by someone on his deathbed. Shoot me. Then you guys wanted me to listen to Mad Villainy. Fantastic album. And to me, very reminiscent of Dr. Octagon. But I do need to listen to more of MF Doom and Madlib. This one, almost... Oh, what the hell? I'd probably give that a 10 out of 10. Perfect album. In fact, I've got to say, overall, I'm looking at a pile of albums I've just thrown all over the floor here. Overall, you guys have never let me down. I buy everything, right? Which sort of sets me apart from the other streamers out there who just take stuff for free and somehow make money off it. But you guys have given me a record collection. Well, not given it to me. I've spent thousands, but I've got a hell of a record collection. You guys have never let me down. You've seen this record collection. This is fucking phenomenal. JPEG Mafia's album, All My Heroes Are Cornballs. Madcap. Absolutely madcap. Love it. Still don't know what that's all about, that costume. But absolutely mad. Love it. It's funny as well when I'm listening to these albums and I'm talking, and I've obviously never heard of these people, you know, like Old Sweatshirt. Someone will say, "Oh, how can you listen to Tyler the Creator and you claim you've never heard of Old Sweatshirt?" Because I don't do any research. I don't go on Wikipedia and stuff, and I'm not part of a hip hop culture here. sitting in this orange room. But, you know, I'll get like the Kids See Ghosts album and I'll read it and I'll, you know, Kid Cudi. And that's become like a I don't know what a meme is actually, but it's become one of those things where people will be constantly, people to this day will be watching one of those videos for the first time and they'll still be writing, can't believe he said Kid Cudi. Well, C-U-D-I is pronounced Cudi. It is Cudi. Like Ruddy, right? And Rudy. R-U-D-I, Rudy. R-U-D-D-Y. Ruddy, double D makes it Uddy. Cuddle, C-U-D-D-L-E. C-U-D-I is Cudi. So he spelt his own name wrong. I can't help that. I mean, that was obviously a joke, right? It's obviously Kid Cudi. Was I saying King Cudi then? Oh, God, I don't know what I'm saying. Kid Cudi. And then on one of the more recent ones, I said there was someone called Quavo. C-U-A-V-O or something. Can't remember what it was now. Quavo. Quavo? It's Quavo. I don't know. It's spelled Quavo. Shh. I don't really care about that. It's more. I'm just joking, right? But just be aware that I'm not, you know, part of the culture. I'm just sitting in an orange room drinking beer. This one. They said it couldn't be done. The Mercurial number 6 could not ignore all the lyrics on an album that was all about the lyrics, but I did. All of them ignored. Then I listened to In Rainbows, because even while I was being accused of listening to nothing but hip hop for a while, I was still sticking some odd things in there. Had to block a few people over this one because I was saying, calling me a liar again. Saying, I had a lot of call yourself producer comments, right? This happened for a while. So I dropped the rock fan listens to because I thought, oh, you know, talk about painting yourself into a corner, rock fan, when I own like 20 bloody hip hop albums. And I thought, and everyone was kept going on about the lyrics. Oh, the lyrics this and the lyrics that. And I thought, you know what? If I say producer, because I do, I produce music. I have done for 25 years. I thought if I put producer listens to, there's a chance that will at least eliminate some of the lyric nonsense, right? Because at least it suggests I'm listening to the production side of it more than the lyrics. But I've got to put it out there. I do listen to the lyrics. I'm not. People will go, oh, you won't like that album because it's too much about the lyrics. No. I listen to the lyrics just as much as you listen to the lyrics. This is the first listen, and then I could not do the first listen. I could listen to an album 20 times and then listen to it through with you. That's not a bad idea. I think there's something to be said for the initial. Watching someone's initial reaction to something they've never heard before. That's what this series is all about. But there's also something to be said for going back and listening to an album like Currents again now, to also make use of the fact that I bought it for 20 or 30 quid. Maybe I'll revisit some of these albums. And I could also revisit them in the way that I do the editing today. Because the problem is, for a good 80 or 90 videos, I wasn't doing what I can do today, which is cutting on the beats and producing a video that is fooling some of you into thinking I'm playing the entire album. Of course, they're all in danger of being worldwide blocked at any time, and I make zero money. Denzel Curry, fantastic album. I've been listening to this one a lot recently. Then we had the whole... I can't believe you haven't listened to Kanye West. Call yourself a producer. Call yourself a producer. And you haven't listened to Kanye West. I don't believe you. It's impossible. I mean, I don't know. Why I sort of say in the comment sections, why is it a prerequisite? Why do you feel like I have to have listened to Kanye West? There'll be producers out there. There'll be someone now out there producing a rock band or something, or a death metal band or some sort of extreme music, who doesn't even know Kanye West exists. I mean, there are like 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 albums released every day. Yeah, some of them become like hits on the radio or whatever, but not everyone. I'm not listening to them. I'm not listening to the radio. Then we had what became the album that most of you now probably subscribe to this channel because I did this listen through, and I tried to make it. My editing skills at this point, I am now, and I was then. I'm always getting better, but I was at the top of my game. And yeah, I drank a lot of coffee because I wanted it to be. I wanted like my performance on the video, the kind of charisma and the beating fucking heart of me, to be absolutely just fueled. And even to this day, everyday comments roll in. I block a lot of them, but everyday comments roll in saying that I must be on cocaine. I don't do cocaine. I don't do any drugs. I've said it a few times that actually even the coffee is irrelevant. I've done quite a few videos over the years, quite a few episodes of Discover where I was drinking nothing but fizzy water, and I'm still the same me that I am now, because I press record and I feel like we have got to do something together. We've got to do something. We've got to be somebody. You and me, we've got to be something. Not just, oh, let's listen to this. Oh, let's listen to this. Oh, look. And I suppose we should end this really on what I was trying to get across here. I wanted to give you an overview of the albums that I've done over the last 119 episodes. I'm not a sudden success. Because I make zero money, I'm actually not a success at all. But even in terms of subscribers, I've been doing this for bloody ages. I'm about to record episode 120 of an album that shall remain nameless. But I wanted to give you a flavour of where I've been, so you won't necessarily have to ask for albums that have already been done. There came a point along the way where, like I said, the record company suddenly decided they were going to just worldwide block everything. And it was disappointing. And it did change things. And the way I make videos now is wholly time consuming. And the problem is, just to sort of finish it, just spend a couple of minutes saying this. But, so, you guys will suggest a video. Sorry, you guys will suggest an album. And when it gets to past a certain amount of people that go on and bloody on about something, I'll eventually buy it. And it can cost 40 quid. Don't know what that is in dollars. $60. Something which I pay out of my own money. So that's that bit. When the album comes, or I buy it, or order it, whatever, and it's in my hands. And then I've got to wait for a time where I feel like I actually have got the energy to do a video. Because quite often I'll think, oh, I can't be asked today. But sometimes this happens, right? Then I've got to set up the audio, condenser mics, various equipment, running through various stuff over here, the record player, get it all set up, The video side of it, I might have one camera, I might have, I've usually got two cameras now because I've usually got one wired up on the record player on the screen over there. I've usually then got another camera just to the left, so I can look across, and so I usually got at least 1, 2, 3 cameras. Sometimes I've got 4 cameras. So we've got the audio and the video. Then I've got to record the thing. So I press record and record, got my microphone, recording on this camera, recording on primary camera, recording on secondary camera, sync. Hello, my Mercurial mercenaries. Welcome to blah 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 blah, the time it takes to record it. Then I take all the files off the cameras, put them on the computer. I then work with the audio, just the audio, and I'm mixing, I sort of remaster the vinyl slightly, get it sounding, nice. I then work on the vocals, And if you notice, I have various effects and things that I use, and I try to get it so when I sing along, I mix it in. I use production. Call yourself a producer? Yes! When people go, I want to hear what you've produced. Well, not only have I mentioned that I've done actual episodes of Discover on my own albums, The Only Way Out is Through and Escapism, but you don't need to listen to any of that. Just watch my videos. Listen to my videos. This that I do. Watch the latest one with Childish Gambino, Awaken My Love. Don't ask me what I've produced, or you call yourself a producer. Just listen to it. If you can't hear it, then obviously you're just not a fan of my production style, which is fine. You don't have to be a fan of my production style. Editing the audio can take bloody ages. Ages. Then I put the audio into a visual editing program, and I put all the different camera streams into it. Got to sync them all up, takes ages. Color grade them, takes ages. Edit it into just the straight listen through of the album, takes ages. That usually ends up being the Discover that goes on my website. Then I have to do the edit to get past the worldwide block on YouTube. That takes ages. I get it into a form that I think might get through the worldwide block, and I upload it to YouTube, which takes ages. Then I get the worldwide block back. Then I have to edit it again and upload it to YouTube, and that whole process takes ages. Then I get the worldwide block. Usually I do it takes roughly 4 times of edit, upload, block, edit, upload, block, edit, upload, block, edit, upload, success. And creating the thumbnail. Right, so the whole process at the moment takes about a solid week. Bearing in mind, I get 0. It sounds like violins, and it goes. It is violins. I'm not saying this for sympathy. I'm saying it because it's hours and hours and hours and hours of my time, and I value my time preciously. How much I've done videos on this before, which you can probably find if you search my channel, but each episode of Discover probably realistically costs me hundreds of pounds to make, and I get 0. And someone will still comment, "Now you're talking over the music. Call yourself a producer." The one at the moment. Oh, you're a disgrace. You riddle your videos with adverts. Thank you, my mercenaries. I just wanted to give you an overview of the entire idea of first listen-throughs with the Mercurial number 6. I've called them reactions in the past. I think I'm dropping reaction now. I'm going to call them experiences. It's just experiencing an album with me. I'm not reacting to it. It started off, like I said, back in the days of Nonagon Infinity, where I would just talk, tell stories, have a laugh. Like I said before, around episode 20, 30, 40, I ran out of things to say. So now I sort of do a lot of this. A lot of this. Right? But whatever. Whatever. What will be, will be. Keep the recommendations coming. I haven't got a lot of time, but keep them coming. And I'm sure that I might have pissed some people off with this video because I've probably inadvertently kind of been a bit big-headed, or I'm not intending to be. I'm actually trying to be completely and utterly honest. Over. I don't know. No pelicans. Over and